What's up, guys? I'm Aaron. I am here for Walk Talk Football. Stepping in for Heath this week. He's earned a well-earned vacation. He's in California enjoying the Rays, but this week we're going to talk Premier League, Champions League, MLS, a little bit of everything. Let's walk. All right, first up is Santi. Considering Bournemouth isn't at its best, Koscielny's worries and Xhaka Ramsey's little defensive duties, was Arsenal's win a red herring? That one's tough. Okay, I think Bournemouth, they got the result exactly that they should have. The next test, they're going to be up against Cologne in Europa on Thursday, Chelsea away. We saw what happened against Liverpool, so Bournemouth's a little bit of a different test for them. So I think the big test for Arsenal right now is going to be Cologne in Europa. It's going to be Chelsea. In the league, for sure, it's going to be Chelsea. That's away. It's one of the best teams in the league. Arsenal going up against a team that are better defensively, better attacking. So that's really going to be the big test. I don't think you really get to look at the Bournemouth result. You got to look at it in a little bit different light. Bournemouth aren't as strong of a team as Arsenal. We're expecting them to win that one. So the big test is going to be Chelsea for sure. Took it to Twitter this weekend, the debate over Sadio Mané's red card. 72% of you guys thought it was a clear red, 28% thought it was not. In my view, first time I saw it, thought it was a little bit harsh. Watched a few more replays, saw the way he went in. It's not about intent, it's about how hard you go in. It's about the challenge. I thought it was a warranted red card, maybe a little harsh, but I thought it was a good call, and I don't think he should get banned for longer. I don't think it should be more 2-3 games, but I think it was a good red card. The red card changed the game completely for Liverpool. It looked like it was a little bit, they were down by 1 goal. They looked like they were in the game though. City's back line is a little suspect. We've seen that. Sadio Mané and Mo Salah were getting in a lot behind that defense, and as soon as he went off, you could see the whole atmosphere of the game change, and it just changed everything for Liverpool. You could say it's harsh, but I think it was warranted, and it changed it for them. It changed the whole game. Doran says, Renato Sanchez is too good for a team like Swansea. I think Renato is a great player. I think Swansea is a good place for him to be. He was at Bayern where he didn't quite get the playing time he needed. He's 18, 19 years old. He needs to play week in, week out. He's going to a place, he's going to the Premier League where he's a player that would, I think, will do well in the Premier League. He's very energetic. He's got a lot of technical quality, but he also has the physique and the energy to get box to box. We saw him for the first time in action against Newcastle for Swansea. It wasn't a great game for him. He kind of looked a little bit out of sorts, but he's still settling in, and that's what's important. He needs to get those reps. He has to play week in, week out. He's got to play at a high level, and that's what's going to make him a better player. And maybe not, Swansea isn't exactly Bayern, but he's got to play week in and week out. Ron says, what match will Crystal Palace score their first goal of the season? They have just now sacked Frank de Boer. First manager to go all his matches without scoring a goal at all. It was 4, but still, he's the first manager in history. So they've got Southampton at home next. And honestly, if they're gonna score, it's probably gonna be against Southampton, because then they've got City, United, and then Newcastle after that. But honestly, if they don't get a goal against Southampton, you gotta worry a little bit for Crystal Palace. There's rumors about Roy Hodgson coming in as manager to replace Frank de Boer, and I think that's the right choice. He's a guy that's been around the block. He's managed a bunch of teams like this that are kind of coming off relegation, struggling. He knows how to come into a locker room and bring those guys together, kind of get them focused. He knows how to play in a counter-attacking style where they'll get men behind the ball. It might not necessarily be pretty, but they'll be able to grind out those results that you need when you're a lower, struggling team. You just need to grind out results, and Roy Hodgson knows how to do that. When they're going to score their next goal, who knows? Peter asks, who are your picks for Europa League success this season? Could even predict the 3rd place team in Champions League. Off the top, I think Arsenal dropping out of Champions League. Obviously, they did not finish in the top 4 last year. So Arsenal are in Europa. They're gonna be eager to prove themselves in some way. They've got to get results. They need something to kind of rally around. And I think Europa League could kind of be that touching point where the level isn't quite as high. They can kind of, Arsene Wenger can kind of bring that team in and say, hey, we win Europa League. This is the base for what we're gonna build our success on. TSG Hoffenheim from Germany. Bilbao in Spain, Milan. I think all those guys have a really, really good shot at being successful in Europa League. Now, some of the teams that are in Champions League that I think could have a shot, Group F and Group H are exactly who I'm looking at. Feyenoord, City, Napoli, Shakhtar, whoever ends up in that 3rd spot, I think has a really, really good shot to drop into Europa and then be successful. H, Real, Dortmund, Spurs, and then Apwell. Apwell's probably going to be in that 4th spot, but Dortmund or Spurs, whoever probably are fighting for that 3rd spot, I think if they end up dropping into Europa League, you've got to really worry about those guys. Padilla Maya asks, is Inter going to finish in top 4? I think that's a really good question. They've got a new manager in Luciano Spalletti. They've made some pretty good signings in Skriniar in the back, who looks strong. Borja Valero, I think, was one of the best signings of the Serie A season. I think they've got a really good squad. They've shown they've got 9 points out of 3 games already. They look really solid. I think Juventus and Napoli are probably going to fight it out for the title. Then you've got Milan, you've got Lazio, you've got Roma, all kind of battling for those 3rd and 4th spots. And honestly, I think Inter's right in there. I'm not a fan of Inter, but they've got a really strong squad this season. And I think this is the year they probably do finish in top 4. Get back into Champions League reckoning. Club and City, can Atlanta United win MLS Cup this season? They've got that beautiful new stadium, Mercedes-Benz just opened. They've got an incredible young team. They've got Tito Villanova, they've got Almiron, Villalba, Martinez. All those guys are scoring goals. They're really, really exciting young players. They look like they have the depth and the ability to really challenge. It would be incredible to see an Atlanta team in their first year go on and win the MLS Cup. And we have seen year in, year out, anyone can win MLS Cup. So honestly, I would put them right up there as challengers. I would not be surprised to see Atlanta United win the Cup this year. Gregor asks, do you think DC United will ever get out of this slump? If we're talking about DC United as a club, tough. They just came off a 3-match win streak, so they just lost their latest game. Gonna be tough for them to make it into the playoffs. They probably got to win out. So not sure if DC can make it out this year. I'm not sure as a club how they're gonna make it out of this either. They've got Ben Olsen, who's been their manager for a long time. Decent manager. It just seems as a club they not necessarily have the ambition. I'm not sure what it's been, but obviously haven't been challenging for a while. They've got the new stadium coming, so who knows? Maybe things will look up for DC in the near future, but as it stands right now, I don't necessarily see them breaking out of this slump. I don't see them lifting a trophy anytime soon, but it's MLS. Things can change like that. George asks, taking away transfers and managers, how is previous form lost within a team from one season to another? It's a tough question. Every season is different. Players get older. You see in a team like Bayern Munich, they just lost Philipp Lahm. They just lost Xabi Alonso. It's not just about transfers. These are humans. So from one season to the next, you might lose motivation, you might lose fitness, you might go through injury, get a new manager, maybe the locker room dynamic changes a little bit with players leaving, coming in. There's so many factors that go into whether or not a team is going to be successful or not. But those are a few of the things that go into, even without transfers and a manager, that's how things can change within a locker room. Just players get older, they have different motivation. So yeah, it can be tough. Christian Van Slyke, thoughts on Dembele's Barca debut? We only saw about 20 minutes of him. He came in when Barcelona were already up 3-0. It's really interesting. Dembele was bought to replace Neymar, and already you can kind of see he's got that Neymar-esque. He's got the sauce. He loves to do the tricks. He holds onto the ball a little bit longer than maybe a typical Barcelona player would. So I think there's gonna be an adjustment period for him to figure out when he can break the tricks out, when he needs to play a little quicker, but the quality is obviously there. They're gonna work him into it. Maybe against Barcelona, against Juventus in Champions League, he'll start from the start. But I think it was a solid debut for Dembele. You got to see the skill that he has. You got to see how quick he is as a player. You can still also see on the pitch, he's still trying to figure out where he fits in, his movement as compared to the other Barcelona players, where he wants to be on the field, where he wants to receive the ball, his off-the-ball movement. So you see all of those things it was only 20 minutes, but in that 20 minutes, you can see him figuring it out. And as he goes along, clearly, we're gonna get more time to see Dembele with his teammates in training, day in, week in, month in. So I think it was a solid debut for him, but obviously there's a lot more to come. Alex Aria, thoughts of the Panama versus USA game coming up next? It's a must win. It's a must win, guys. It's down to crunch time. We've picked up a couple tough results. Panama is always kind of a bugbear for the U.S. That's the thing with CONCACAF, is it doesn't necessarily matter what your form is coming into any one game. It's a wild, wild qualification run, and I think it's going to be interesting. I think the U.S. typically tends to step it up when it really comes to it. And I don't think they're going to return the favor of the U.S. and eliminate them, but it's going to be really interesting. Menyo says, apparently Ancelotti needs to be sacked after this one loss. He disagrees. Here's the thing with Carlo Ancelotti. He is one of those managers where his teams don't necessarily always start the greatest. He is a manager that builds his teams to peak at the end of the season. Bayern Munich didn't have the greatest of seasons last year. I think we saw a lot of injuries. We saw a lot of guys like Arjen Robben and Frank Ribéry who are key guys for that team, in and out of form, injury. But this year, I think it's going to be really interesting. They've got James Rodriguez coming in. They've got more of those guys healthy, but they also have lost Xabi Alonso. They lost Philipp Lahm. So there's a big leadership vacuum in Bayern Munich, but it's very early. I think the pressure is on Ancelotti. He did not win Champions League. I believe they got to quarterfinals last year. They won the league, but it wasn't necessarily as convincing as it has been in recent years. And I think if it continues in this vein, if they don't do well in Champions League, if they don't necessarily make it to the semis, or if in the league, in Bundesliga, if they struggle a little bit, I think we might hear some whispers about Carlo Ancelotti, but he's one of those managers where you gotta give him time. He's got the pedigree, he's got the Champions Leagues, the league titles, so we've seen it year in and year out with him. He takes his time, he builds his squad. I don't think there's anything to worry about right now. And now, the haters. This is Heath's favorite part. Chance to address what you guys really want to talk about. This is my first solo walk talk, so hopefully you guys won't get at me too hard. Avik says, Aaron, I love your shirt. I appreciate that. I like that shirt too. If you're a racist, homophobic, transphobic, just sit down and be quiet. That's all you have to do. Gorilla asks, will A-West be wearing a kitty cat t-shirt? He still has to take me shopping for a kitty cat t-shirt. I'm trying to get like the full gamut of animal shirts. Like I want a raccoon, I want a dog, maybe a horse, maybe a direwolf. A direwolf. I do need a direwolf. Thank you, Mike. I also kind of want a shirt of just Pat's face. Daria says, Aaron is a great addition. Remove Pat and this would have been a great episode. Okay, I appreciate the love. We have to keep Pat. They're like, right, come on. If Pat leaves, we riot. Pat brings a level of insight that is very different from Heath and I. He comes from a different background. Pat loves lower league football. That's not necessarily my thing. Pat has a different view on a lot of the modern football things. That it's a really valuable insight that you can't kick Pat out. Come on, and look at him. Look at his face. Come on, that's just rude. Kenny says, have Aaron on more. Done. Achilles or Achille says, you guys look cool to chill with. False. We are terrible to chill with. Rex Gamer says, Aaron with the NMDs, V2, yes. Thank you for noticing. I like them too. Jeremy says, Aaron is always rocking the freshest tops. Again, I don't know what he complains about. I don't know. Huey says, Pat should just host his own hipster football segments instead of forcing him to talk about mainstream football, which he is so clearly into. Bring that other black guy to replace him. I don't know if I'm the other black guy. I don't know who the other black guy is. Hopefully it's me. Maybe I'll become the black guy in your hearts. But Pat, again, back to Pat, like, I need you guys to stop hating on Pat. He's a homie, he's got his own views. And finally, Mully asks, who is this idiot in the middle? That idiot is me, Aaron West. Thank you guys for having me. And that's just gonna be about it. Comment, like, subscribe. We got Champions League coming up this week, Champions League kit previews. Thank you guys for having me, and we'll catch you next time.